And we are live, and I am joined today by a special guest, a very somewhat, well, I say somewhat fatigued, Mr. John Modern Life Dating. How are you, sir?
Good. It's been a very long day. I'm in the process of moving, and then we got the Rules Drill live event, and then now body language mastery. So I've
It's
just
just
got a lot going on.
it's just kind of crazy at the moment, isn't it? Really, I mean, with you, the amount of stuff that you've got going is insane. Where you say moving? Whereabouts are you looking to move to without giving away any top secret locations? Because I know you were looking at that Swish tower block place, and that didn't come through. So, what are you looking at now? Is it similar kind of property or?
Similar property. It is a tower mansion, and I just going through the motions really, and have a company that I need to contract, and yeah, we're just gonna be moving out tomorrow,
Nice. Are
and
you doing the actual move tomorrow?
um, not tomorrow, but I think
Soonish.
it's the 30th is the full date.
Yeah.
Just so much, I've just done so much. I'm
Yeah,
doing
man.
so much. I mean, I just got done with the SALT training, and I have my guys in my private course, my Patreon guys, I'm really just living life to the fullest, I'll tell you that.
Absolutely, mate, and you are probably the hardest working man in the red pill. So it's an honour to just to have you on here, even for a short period of time. And obviously, I mean, it's always great to catch up. Thank you very much. Secret
Thank
admirer
you.
says blue suits me. Always lovely to catch up, of course. But today we are here for a specific reason, in a sense, in that body language mastery Q3. The enrollment period has now opened, and it's open until Monday at midnight. So that's obviously,
Mhm.
we need to let guys know, because I've been coming into the webinars for body language mastery now for the past. I mean, it's quite a few sessions, isn't it now?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's just a ton of value. I mean, it's more value than I think of any other sort of game related course, or instructional assembly that I've ever seen. And I mean, that sounds like hyperbole, but it really is the case. So, we've got to let guys know about this, because if they miss out, then, it's kind of a wasted opportunity. But let me ask you this, right? Your channel is called Modern Life Dating. That's your kind of like your nom de plume, if you like, online. What would you
Mhm.
say the biggest challenge in modern life dating is for guys at the moment? Because it really is challenging out there, isn't it?
I think it's taking a step. Um, it's taking a step of faith in the direction of actually realizing that your dreams can come true. And I know it sounds like like kind of vague and Disney-ish, but just believing that the life that you want to have is
Mm,
achievable and
yeah.
doable, and taking that first step. Like some of the guys in the community, they are they're like addicted to bad news. They're addicted to bad outcome, and they just think that they almost look forward to things falling apart to an extent, but they think that you can't make a change. You can't change your sex life. You can't learn game. When
Yeah.
you learn game like how you and I have it, first of all, you can't unlearn it. You can't
Mm,
unsee it. And second of
yeah.
all, it's hard not to want more, and to learn more and build upon the knowledge. Once you have that first kind of beginner level set, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. I think for me, what I observe in the community at this particular point in time is you've got two sets of people. You've got a group of people who are incredibly negative and who focus pretty much solely on the bad news, if you like. They focus on what is bad about society, what is bad about women, what is bad about dating, and they just harp on about that, and that's where they stop. And then you've got another group of people who say, okay, yes, some of those things may be true, some of those things may be valid, but there's something you can do about it, and you can build an amazing life. And that's what I've always been about, and I believe that's what you're about too, which is why I've always been so keen to work with you on everything.
Yeah, I just think that again, going back to body language mastery. Let's just be honest, okay? We're talking about body language mastery. What is body language mastery? What did body language mastery start off as? Started off as a tool for guys to understand game by looking at a woman's body language and by reading her body language and determining, okay, she's sexually interested in me or she's not sexually interested in me, right? And that's really what the course has been a phenomenal outcome. More than $500,000 in sales, and just like insane results. But the whole thing that we've been going through is just so powerful that this thing has evolved into something completely different.
Yeah.
The network that we have behind the scenes, which I like to call the masculine empowerment network, the men network that we have, the guys making connections behind the scenes in real life, the guys making real life changes and getting real life results. We're talking about money and fitness as well. And as well as dating, but it's just unbelievable how much I have been able to help people, and I'm kind of turning the spotlight towards me. But it's just amazing how many guys have been able to help, and how many guys have been willing to reach out and kind of put their ego aside and realize, like, hey, I need help, and get the help they need, and literally change their fucking life, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Because look, I mean, the thing is, right? I mean, yes, there are social problems in the world today. Yes, there are things that perhaps none of us want to see. Yes, women can be difficult to deal with. Yes, there's a lot of narcissism out there. Women have a ton of options through the dating apps, through social media, and all of that kind of stuff. And, all of that stuff is true. But as we've said many times, it is also it is the best time ever to be alive as a guy on this planet, right? Because the opportunities are just kind of inexhaustible out there, really, both in terms of game, in terms of dating, but also in terms of business, in terms of like just freedom, location independence, being able to be where the hell you want to be, right? And the great thing about body language mastery is that John helped me get off crack. Well, there you go. The help never ends. But the great thing about body language mastery is, like you say, it's evolved, hasn't it? Because it started off as a body language course, and it still is at base. But it's gone on to be so much more now, just with these webinars, where you've just got this like range of talent who are teaching just all these different aspects of life to people. And it is kind of extraordinary what's happening on the inside on those webinars.
It is. It's fantastic. And it's I think it's really it's a point of catharsis for a certain type of man, because you know how it is. Like you've been in this game, and the teaching game, the game teaching game for a while now, and sometimes you just get these guys that are so bright, and they learn pretty quickly. They learn to pick up pretty quick. They learn to pick up girls pretty quickly. It takes them, I would say, total about 6 months to really get dialed in, and then they have some solid momentum, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of these guys, in true typical like smart guy fashion, is they kind of like get bored with picking up girls. They learn the system pretty quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They do, and carry on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and it's very interesting to watch a guy get bored of chasing pussy. It's like one of the most rarest thing in the world. You can you can visit, and I'm not talking about like a guy who some guy was talking on my show today, and he says, MGTOW stands for men groping their own wiener.
That's a good one. And
we're not talking about the MGTOW guys, groping your own wiener crowd, but we're talking about like, guys who come in, learn the game pretty quickly, and get results sexually, and then
Mm,
get tired of it and want to move on with things. And then that's my
yeah.
philosophy of modern life dating. Like, I want to teach guys to just get this part of your life handled so
Mm.
you can move on and do something more beneficial for humanity.
Yeah, for sure. Because people will criticize dating coaches and guys who are doing stuff like us, and they will say, "Is that all you're about? Is it just about chasing? You're just pedestalizing women, and that's all you're about is trying to get with girls." And of course, that is actually not the case at all. I heard you on, maybe it was the same show, your show earlier, where you were saying, for you, it's almost like you've had so much success in this area now that it is almost boring. Like it doesn't feel like it's the main driver for you anymore.
Right. And like, that's I gotta say, like, I'm just you know, I really just, I'm at this point in the year, I'm just going through the motions of doing the launch,
Yeah.
not only for the sake of, like making money or whatever, which is nice, but
Yes.
really it's about just acquiring more guys in the group who are actively seeking help. And like some guy in the chat's like, John seems tired, and John blah 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 blah. I'm like, I've been working my rear end off, and it's 1:50 a.m. on Friday night in
Mm,
Tokyo. And so, I am tired, but there's no excuse. I'm just saying that, like, and this is gonna sound a little self-righteous, but like, this has become bigger than me.
mm,
This has become like a digital movement. Um, the Hot Tune Army, that I call them, all the guys watching me, like, we're everywhere. And like, these guys
yeah.
are craving male companionship. They're craving answers. And, I've got all sorts of guys, man. I've got guys who are, I've got attorneys. I've got professional poker players. I've
Mm,
got guys in politics. I have guys who are infusing edibles with THC. I have guys that work on oil rigs. I have guys in the United States military. I have guys in the Australian military. Like,
yeah.
there's a silent outcry for men that are like uniformly saying, like, we are tired of being treated like second class citizens in the Western world, and we want a coalition that we can join, and kind of a place where we can seek refuge and just not feel like freaks just because we're men that with a sex drive. And that's exactly what I've created with Body Language Mastery and the network of men that are
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And by the way, guys, if you've got any questions that you want me to cover, or indeed John to cover, just whack them in the chat. A guy here, Svetan
Mm.
Storshev, has said basic tips on body language when doing day game. I mean, from my perspective on this, I guess you're probably talking about male body language here, like your own body language. If
Mhm.
that's the case, then dominant male masculinized body language is really, really key, right? So you've got to look like you are the man, okay? You've got to walk into the interaction with a bit of swagger, taking up space, not looking like you're too timid and afraid. You've got to be sort of like be a little bit larger than life when you walk into the interaction. Having said that, of course, you don't also want to be intimidating as well. So you've got to be always be mindful of how she's reacting, how she's coming, how you're coming across to her. But in general, you want to go in with the most dominance that you can muster physically, I would say. In terms of her body language to you, well, that is more what you will learn when you join Body Language Mastery, because the key thing that you get with Body Language Mastery is a set of videos which show you male to female body language. So it shows you how she looks when she's attracted. Okay. So you can understand from watching these videos what a woman looks like when she's sexually attracted to you. And that's kind of like the key teaching in the course, really. So you'll get that from there. But I mean, just a couple of things. I mean, a classic one is, of course, touching her hair. If she touches her hair, that's a good sign. If she prolongs eye contact for longer than is necessary, that's another good sign. If she touches you, that's a really good sign. Even if she just whacks you playfully, that is an amazing, amazing sign. But you'll learn all about this and more when you actually get into the course. John, have you got anything more on that?
Well, I would say that just make sure you are standing up straight, and you're not hunched over like Mr. Burns on The Simpsons. You're. I think they did a Harvard study saying that like even when guys are standing up straight, their testosterone levels went higher. Just standing in like a victory pose, like an open, upright, erect pose.
Erect. And the other thing is, of course, it makes you look taller as well, which is the other thing. Because you get so many guys who are sort of like, oh man, the height pill, girls only want tall guys and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, there is some truth in that. But look, at the end of the day, a lot of guys don't have very good posture. And so they're not taking full advantage of the height that they actually do have.
Mm-hmm. Are you 6 foot tall?
Just about. Just like sort of like, what about you though? You're 5'10" or something, aren't you?
5'10", the height of champions.
Exactly. I think I'm not much further ahead than you, to be honest. But listen, this whole height thing. I mean, what do you think about that? Because you've had massive success, haven't you? And it hasn't impeded you in any sense.
I've never. I mean, if a girl is dumb enough to be like have such strict standards that she's only gonna, suck a dick that's 6 foot tall or longer, I'm just like,
whatever.
I just truly, in my heart of hearts, I really believe that all men are better than women. And so like I just kind of like foolishly look down upon her when she says something stupid like that. I'm like, that's adorable. Like
yeah.
What other fucking stupid things you got to tell me?
It is, yeah. I mean, it is stupid, and also it's not as like widespread as people would say. I mean, it really, really isn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you believe these sort of black pill channels, then you would assume that nobody under 6'5" is getting laid, and I mean that's just absolutely not the case. It's
the majority of people are under 6 foot.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, right? Because you have recently been getting into some pretty public bust ups with some of the MGTOW guys, some of the black pill guys, and so on and so forth. Would you say that those guys are actually doing damage in terms of the advice that they're putting out there?
I think, yeah, to an extent. But at the same time, I mean, I'm very self-centered in the sense of that, like, I don't really care if these guys, destroy their lives or not. Quite frankly, if you're dumb enough to watch this MGTOW philosophy stuff and this black pill stuff and fall for it, I mean, quite frankly, I'm just like, just another idiot I don't have to compete with in the marketplace. I've been having so much sexual and, just personal business success lately. Like I've become so nihilistic with my perspective. Like literally, like
it doesn't really matter, right? I mean,
it doesn't matter at all.
Well, guys have got to take some responsibility for who they follow and the lines of thought that they think are valid or not, right?
Right.
And, like you get a lot of dudes actually in this space kind of white knighting for other guys. They're sort of like, oh, look at these frauds, these pickup coaches, these guys are frauds, or, these dudes over here are frauds. And ostensibly the reason they're doing that is to protect these poor innocent, guys who might get taken in by somebody that they deem to be a fraud. But it's all bollocks. I mean, they don't care about the guys. They're just probably either trying to advance their own career or they're just, jealous or just, kind of like feel inferior themselves, or they want to throw shade at somebody.
I saw some idiot. He made some video about me the other day. That weirdo from Australia, Coach Blackpill or whatever. And he was like, I didn't even know, like he like took portions of my live stream and like clipped them out and like did commentary on it. I just saw this the other day and I was just like, wow, this guy's a real fucking loser. And like, it's just like, I just think as a businessman, everything I do, there's a reason for why I do it. And looking at what he did, I'm just trying to think like, he's not making any money off of this. I guess this is his hobby to like watch me and get upset. You
Mm,
know what I mean?
mm. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of weird. But I mean, it's all part of the course. I mean, I've seen that you've had a few sort of issues over the last couple of weeks, and I can only. I mean, I know it's a cliche to say it, but I think the bigger you get, the more shit you get thrown at you, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm not too worried about the guys who want to throw sticks and stones at me because at the end of the day, the market has told me the value of my coaching services. The market has told me the demand for my coaching services.
Yeah.
And, based on the principles of capitalism, I'm doing a fantastic job. And I am just so happy to be part of this. So like, guys, like I said, body language mastery is open. And what it is yes, it is a head to toe breakdown of the human body language, understanding females, whether they're sexually interested in you or not. You get a
Mm.
complete, you get a two course combo set. You get body language mastery 1.0 and then you get body language mastery 2.0. Head to toe breakdown of female body language to understand if she's sexually interested or not. You get a whole Telegram chat that allows you to stay in the group and monitor your success with your classmates until the end of the year, 100% for free. You get all these access to me via text message, right? Unlimited access. You get access to my archive of like 150 hours plus of previously recorded webinars. And then you get access to 3 weeks of training starting October 1st, live Zoom Q&As. And then in quarter 4, when we do quarter 4 enrollment, guess what? You're in for another 3 weeks of coaching 100% for free. I mean,
Yeah.
the value's through the fucking roof. I'm over delivering. And like I said, October 1st, we start everything. So we are closing registration at September 28th at midnight, getting everybody 2 days to watch the course and handle. We're going to handle admin side on my, uploading emails, sending out all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
information we need. And then October 1st, we're getting rolling and we're getting going.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's going to be fantastic, and you've got a big range of talent who are on board now with this, haven't you? I mean, I'm
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
in the webinars, but you've got Myron Gaines, is Sterling Cooper going to be coming in? You've got Ryan Christensen handling the
Yeah.
hypnosis stuff. I mean, there's just so many dudes you've got on, who are helping you out with this in terms of, the generals of the Hot Dude Army, if you like, who are giving their teaching in their own specific areas.
Yep. We're focusing on money, muscles, and game. We have a guy in there, an employment specialist who's helping people get, jobs. I
Yeah.
used to work in the recruitment industry, so I know all about aggressive job searching, strategic job searching, resume building, everything. Like we literally have an underground digital network that can bring you the happiness that you're searching for in those 3 areas, which is money, muscles, and game.
Exactly, exactly. And by the way, if you haven't seen the trailer yet for Body Language Mastery Q3, you should watch it because the Fight Club pastiche that John did was pretty awesome, I have to say. I think
Thank you.
probably the best one that you've done so far, man. So
Thank you so
fantastic.
much. Thank you.
Anyway, listen. So John is somewhat tired, let's say. So he is going to sign out because it is kind of early in the morning on Saturday in Tokyo now. And it was great to have you on, man. Thanks very much for dropping in, even though it's really late. I know how
Thank
hard you're
you.
working at the moment. I know how tired you are. So appreciate you coming on. And yeah, we will see you again. We'll see you again very soon, man. I will see you tomorrow for Rule Zero.
On my channel. Until then, thanks, guys.
100%.
And use Troy's link, and he'll be, very well taken care of.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There you go, guys. That's the link to join. Okay, see you later,
Peace out.
John. Cheers for joining us. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, well there you go. I think he was a little bit on the tired side, so I decided to let him go. Just to sort of like continue with the broadcast, if you guys have got questions that you want answered, then whack them into the chat. If there's any particular issue you want to talk about, put it in there and we can carry on for a bit. MLD helped face out LMS. I'm not sure he quite helped him. I think that was quite a heated debate on that episode of Rule Zero, if you saw that. continuing on this thing about MGTOW, Brainstormer says, I can understand MGTOW guys in their 40s, 50s who have declining sexual market value and have been burnt in their relationships, but I don't get guys who are only in their 20s and even late teens giving up. I mean, yeah, I think that's true. I mean, like, I think fundamentally for me, the MGTOW, what MGTOW guys say about the dating marketplace, what they say about marriage, what they say about divorce, what they say about the state of things is, for the most part, accurate. I don't think that they are wrong in their assessment of the way that things are. I think the difficulty, and this has been said many times before, so this isn't, I'm not saying anything that's kind of like outrageously like original here, but I think the problem is that you've got a bunch of guys who are saying, my conclusion from all that then is I'm just going to drop out and do nothing. And that, I think, is the difficult thing, because the reality of the matter is that you can improve your results. You can improve your life. And I don't mean that to sound like a sort of brainless kind of self-help kind of thing. I mean, I suppose it kind of sounds like that, but that's not really what I mean. Look, I mean, nobody is saying that if you are, 4'1" and you're a dwarf, a hunchback, and you've got sort of very sort of real issues to overcome, that you're going to be, consorting with Victoria's Secret models the next day. We're not. Nobody's really saying that, but 100%, you can be getting better results than you're getting now if you take this stuff seriously and if you put the work in. Okay, you can improve your results. If you're a male 3 and you're currently getting, attention from other female 3s or female 2s, then you can get yourself up to being at least a male 5, and you can be obtaining the attention and interest of, say, females 5s and 6s, maybe even female 7. Okay, so you can improve your lot. It's obviously we all start from different starting points. We're not all going to be sort of, at Vegas at the pool party, with the beauty queen, letting off the champagne spray and all of that. That's not going to be the outcome for everybody. But, that's not what everybody wants. What a lot of guys who come to this space want is just to meet, a better quality of female than they've met previously. And they just want to be able to socialize in a more effective manner. They just want to find a way to make this stuff easier and to make it a little bit more, if not predictable, at least a bit more sort of like, that, because here's the thing, right? When I was doing dating and so on, before I learned any of this stuff, I was getting some success. It wasn't that I was getting no success. I was actually getting, quite good success, because I was basically going out and just being very persistent. And I was talking to a lot of people, talking to a lot of women, and as a result of that, naturally, I started to get some success. But it was very hit and miss. It was very sort of like, it wasn't predictable. It wasn't, I couldn't have any sort of assuredness that I was going to get decent results. And then everything changed, because I moved to London. I moved back to London, rather, after a long time in a city in the north of England, Manchester. I made new friends. I kind of changed my life completely. And I also read the game, and then I learned about social dynamics, and I spent a lot of time studying it, both, by reading and watching videos, but also crucially going out and actually talking to girls and making things happen. And by putting into place some of the things that I learned, my dating life became significantly more. I mean, I don't want to say that I could guarantee an outcome. I wouldn't say that I could walk into any situation and, I would always be successful, because of course nobody can say that. That's not an accurate reflection. But I could be a lot more sure that if I went out for an evening, I was very likely to get good results. I was very likely to, get girls who are into me and, get makeouts and maybe more. Okay. And that wasn't an accident. That was because I learned certain fundamentals and put them into place. and was able to leverage that in order to improve my results. So, there are things that can be learned here, and you can improve your prospects. Okay. It's like saying, I mean, not everyone's going to become a millionaire. Certainly not everyone's going to become a billionaire, but you can certainly be making more than you were making before, right? If you learn certain things. It's exactly the same with dating skills as well, social skills also. You can definitely improve, and that's really what this is all about. Most of the Rule Zero guys you host come across as wannabe dating gurus. When I think of real playboys like Paul Janker come to mind. Well, I know Paul Janker actually because he lives in London, so I'm quite good friends with Paul. He's a great guy. And yes, I mean he's the real deal for sure. I mean he's married now, he's got a kid. He is very different to how he was in his heyday. He was, a playboy. I mean, obviously very good looking. He had almost movie star good looks, great physique. He lived in Manhattan, very intelligent. He was educated at Harvard. He studied physics at Harvard, actually. So he, in many ways, he was and is the perfect male specimen, if you like. He's pretty much a male 10, or let's say a male 9 or whatever. He had the whole package. And on top of that, he is also highly analytical, highly intelligent, highly literate, and literary. And he wrote very, very well about dating and game. There's no doubt about that, and his book, which is one of his books, How to Get Laid in NYC, I still recommend to guys now. I think you can get it online. I think you can just get it for free if you Google it. Fantastic, brilliantly written, and he's got really, really sharp insights into female nature and dating, etc., etc. However, does that mean that he's the only person, or somebody like that is the only person that you can learn from? Well, no, absolutely not, because there are people of all different types who have had success and who continue to have success, and they have something to contribute as well. So if you look at somebody like John MLD, he's a very different character in many ways to Paul Janker. Does he get success? Yes. Is he able to teach it? Yes. Does he get guys results? Yes. So it's kind of like comparing different people is sort of redundant in a sense. I mean, like in the end, you have to go with who you're comfortable with. I mean, some people want to gravitate towards John MLD. Other people don't, and that's fine. Some people gravitate towards me. Other people don't. That's fine. Nobody's being forced to sign up to any one particular, like guru or other. It's just down to who you resonate with, really. I mean, the other thing to note is that the Rule Zero guys aren't all like dating gurus anyway. I mean, Ryan Stone talks more about long-term relationships, and he's been in a long-term relationship for 12 years. So, he's kind of qualified. Rich Cooper is in a long-term relationship, and he's not a dating guru, really. Rollo Massey is married and has been for 30 years, and he's not a dating guru either. So, I think you just need to just listen to who you find a resonance with, really. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to, I think. Adrian says, how do I take the next step with a girl I did go out with? Well, it depends really what happened. I mean, did she, was it a successful, did you go on a date? Was it successful? Did you make out? Did you, what happened at the end of that meeting, whatever it was? Let me know, and then we'll come back to it. Alfonso says, excited for when CAD opens. Yeah, so listen, CAD Live, which is the name of this show, which is Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, normally at 11:30 a.m. EST, slightly later today. That's named after my course, CAD Academy, which comes out every quarter, or I enroll for new students every quarter. It's closed at the moment. We will be opening again in November, okay? Dates are being finalized at the moment because obviously there's a lot going on in November. You've got the US presidential elections and all of that. So it's going to be mid-November, but I will obviously be giving you more info on that as and when it comes out. So this secret admirer has been asking, what does it mean when a girl looks at you with her head cocked to the side? It's usually a good sign. It's usually an indicator of interest. If she's kind of like looking like you like that, it usually indicates that she's interested, or she's kind of being a bit flirty. So yeah, that's a good sign to look out for. What affirmations do you use in the morning or before pickup? Well, I haven't. I have to confess, I haven't been using affirmations as much recently, and I should get back into it. But I would basically use the most outrageous affirmations that I could make up. I just write my own. I wouldn't get them from anywhere. Anything that I wanted to boost my confidence on, I would just make up an affirmation and say it in the present tense. So I would say something like, say I wanted to become rich, incredibly wealthy. I would say, I'm the richest guy on the planet. 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 And say it 10 times over. Then I'd say something like, I'm incredibly good looking. I'm incredibly good looking. I'm incredibly good looking. Say it, 10 times over. All of this stuff is complete hyperbole. I mean, you're going completely over the top, but that's the point, because it doesn't really, you could say, I am the best looking guy in London. I'm the best looking guy in London. I'm the best looking guy in London. Keep saying it to yourself. I mean, of course, it's not true, but that doesn't matter. It's not about it being true. It's about you bigging yourself up internally. It's about you being your own cheerleader. Because when I started doing affirmations, what I realized was that I was I had a lot of internal dialogue going on in my head that was very, very negative, particularly when I was working in corporate. And I suppose I was quite depressed because of my job and, the situation I was in. And I would listen to music on the subway in the morning, and I would have this really, really negative internal dialogue going on where I'd be telling myself I was crap and I wasn't up to anything. And I was, blah, blah, blah. And at the same time, I was reading all this self-help stuff and looking at these self-help resources. And I suddenly thought, well, hang on a minute. Why am I telling myself this stuff? Why does that make sense? And further, if I'm going to have internal self-talk at all, which, I kind of couldn't help having, it was just naturally happening, then I might as well direct it. I might as well make it incredibly positive. Because if you're going to have one or the other, why have the negative one? You might as well have the incredibly positive one. Even if you don't believe if affirmations work, it's just like, well, it's got to be better than telling yourself you're a piece of shit. So I started doing it, and it really, really does have a very profound effect. And so, and as I say, I've kind of not been doing it as much recently, which is a bit remiss. So I need to crack on with it again. But I would just make up your own and make them as outrageously positive as you can. Thank you, Wraith56, watching. Please give me likes, drop a comment below, etc. Maverick says, thoughts on artist game for cold approach. Let me sketch you a portrait for day game. Seems like it may skip a whole lot of steps. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about this. It's not something that I've ever done because I'm crap at sketching. So, I mean, I suppose I think I have done it as a joke. I've done it in clubs. Actually, I used to have a pen and paper with me, and I would say, you're so beautiful, let me just sketch you. And then I do the drawing, and then she'd go, oh, can I look at it? Can I look at it? And it would just be this rubbish stick figure. And that would raise a laugh. I do that as a joke. But if you're doing it on a serious basis, this is a little bit like photography game. So photography game is something that's been talked about. And in fact, I think somebody's written a book about photography game, which is basically like you're going around with a camera and you're talking to girls and you're saying, listen, I'm a photographer. I'd love to photograph you, blah, blah, blah. Mac, the Day Gamer, who's a friend of John's over in Tokyo, Irish guy, he does a bit of this as well. And I believe he gets success with it. Sketching, if you're good at sketching, I suppose it can work. I mean, my reservation with things like this is it just feels a bit like you're not putting your balls on the line. You're making it about something else in a way. And I prefer to just make it about the fact that I am attracted to her and I want to get to know her on that basis, So that's why I generally would open with a compliment. I'd walk up and say, hey, you're really cute. I just wanted to speak to you. Hey, you're really cute. I knew I would kick myself if I didn't come over and say hi. Something like that, right? And the reason that I personally like that structure is because I am foregrounding the fact that I'm attracted to her. When you're making it about something else, so if you're asking directions, or if you're saying, oh, do you know where the British Museum is, or blah, 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 then it just feels a bit like you're not putting your balls on the line, and it's not quite as powerful. It's not quite as masculine, you know? And if you're saying, let me sketch you, that's better, I suppose, because it's a bit like in Titanic, you know, draw me like your French girls kind of thing. But it still feels like you are using that as a crutch because you don't want to just come out with it and say, listen, I think you're really cute. I'd love to get to know you, and taking it from there. Do you know what I mean? So that would be my reservation. But I mean, at the same time, give it a go. Maybe it'll work. But you're going to have to transition it. You know, like you sketch her, and then you're going to have to then at some point you're going to have to be saying, actually, do you know what? You're really cute. Let's go for a drink. So as long as you can do that, then maybe give it a go. But I just think it adds unnecessary steps into the whole. You're saying it takes out steps. I think it kind of puts a step in because you're saying she's going, yeah, all right, sketch me, and then you sketch her, and then you still got to transition it to actually, I find you attractive. Let's go for drinks. So yeah, I think it's adding an additional step to it. Hunchbacks need love too. They do, absolutely. I totally agree with that. This is a good one. JMC says, what would your criteria be for promoting a plate to a girlfriend? So he means a girl that you are dating on a casual basis. So maybe you're dating several different girls at the same time, and then you make a decision to promote one, if you like, to being your girlfriend as opposed to just being a girl that you are, you know, seeing on a friends with benefits basis. Well, I mean, for me, it tends to happen organically. You know, like it tends to be. I mean, generally speaking, if you're seeing a couple of girls or maybe more, naturally there are going to be some that you like more than others. It's just going to fall out. You know, there are going to be There's going to be one that you probably like more than the rest for whatever reason. I mean, it might be that she's the most attractive, but it doesn't have to be that. You know, it might be she's the most pleasant to be around. She's the most fun. You've got interests in common. You know, this is where those secondary things start to come into play a bit more, you know, because looks are one thing, but personality counts, man. Or it's like, you know, like the particular reason why you get on with certain women more than others, it's kind of intangible. It can almost be biochemical thing, I think. Might be to do with the pheromones or something like that. But there are definitely, you're going to find that you gel better with some women than others. And so what you want to be doing is you're dating around, whatever, and you just see what happens, see how you feel, you know. And if there's one that you're just getting on better with, then it's going to kind of just happen naturally. But what you want to avoid, in my view, is to sort of sit down with her and say, right, this is to give you notice that I am now promoted to the office of girlfriend, and try making a big thing about it. You know, it should kind of happen naturally. And if anything, she should be pushing for the, you know, you to be boyfriend and girlfriend, not you. So you're just going to keep dating her and just spending little increments of more time with her. You know, like maybe you're just spending the night together, and then you end up going for breakfast the next morning or brunch. And then it becomes you end up then spending the Saturday together, and you know, slowly you're spending more time together. But it should just happen naturally, and it's based on really how you feel and how you get on with the girls. So Aidan says, in your opinion, what type of guy is the most attractive to girls in their 20s? The West Coast surfer guy in the bands, gym bro, etc. I mean, I don't want to cop out here, but I think it is dependent on the girl to a large extent, because girls are going to like different archetypes. You know, there are some girls who are just massively into guys with guitars, guys in bands. There are other girls who aren't so into that look. So it kind of depends, I think. I mean, I would say out of those three, the guy in the band may be the most attractive, if you like, simply because he is a guy in a band tends to have a bit of a bad boy thing going on, which a gym bro doesn't necessarily. You know, you can be a gym bro and you can be a square as, you know, whatever. Guys in bands also, there's social proof, perhaps, if they have audiences who are liking their stuff, even if it's quite a small audience, it still works, you know. You've got artistic talent, which is good. The rock and roll look can be is generally quite. I mean, a lot of people, even if they're not in bands or they're not particularly rock and roll guys, they will take elements of the rock and roll look. I mean, I wear leather jackets, I wear like things on my wrist, I'll wear like rings. You know, you'll take little elements of that sort of like rock and roll look. You might wear a t-shirt with designer holes in them and stuff. Frayed necklines, ripped jeans, things like this. They're all like rock and roll-esque images to go for that guy in the band look. So I would say out of the three, I would say that is probably the most important. I mean, gym bro, people bang on the whole time about being a gym bro and stuff. And I mean, like, to be honest, in my experience, guys who are lean tend to get very good results. Being massive, it impresses other guys. It doesn't necessarily impress girls that much. I mean, there are some girls, of course, who like that, but in the main, girls tend to like guys who are, yes, muscled, but not like huge. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that anyway. So Alfonso says, don't you feel like intruding or disrupting when day gaming or overwhelmed with people looking at you? My night game, okay, but my day game is atrocious, but obviously night game is kind of dead right now. Well, there's two questions there, really. In terms of whether you're intruding or disrupting, well, I mean, yes, you are in a way, but then on the other hand, it depends on your mindset. Because if you genuinely think of yourself as the prize, then there's an old analogy about this. It's sort of like if you had $1 million in an envelope to give to somebody, to give to this girl, then, and you knew that like $1 million, it's life changing. It's going to be amazing when she gets this. It's going to completely change everything for her. You're not going to sort of go, oh, but am I annoying her? Am I intruding? When you're about to hand over the money, you're just going to run up and give her the envelope. You'll say, listen, I've got this for you. It's amazing. Here you go. Because you know how good it's going to be for her life. So similarly, if you truly regard yourself as being a high value, high quality guy, which you should, then your attitude to this should be, well, I'm awesome. So I'm not intruding or disrupting because I'm offering her the opportunity to get to know me, which is fantastic for her. That's amazing. That's the best thing that's going to happen to her all day. So that's kind of the mindset that you should have. Having said that, of course, you should also be calibrated as well. I mean, it's perfectly okay not to approach people if you feel like it looks like they are, engrossed in something else or for whatever reason, So that's the beauty of it. You don't have to do it all the time with every single girl that you see. So that would be my answer to the first part. The second part, do you get overwhelmed with people looking at you? Well, that is called Tom Torero calls this the spotlight effect, which is basically to say that fear of like feeling like you're in the spotlight, other people looking at you. And the truth of the matter is, people don't really care. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't really give a damn what you're doing, the fact that you're talking to this girl. Like, they might look for a minute and maybe they'll even comment or something to each other, but they don't really give a damn, It's in your head. Do you know what I mean? And Paul Janker actually used to say this as well. What you need to do, if you see an incredibly attractive girl that you would like to get to know, and there's an opportunity for you to speak to her, then you want to do that because you want even if there's other people around, because you want to take it forward in your mind. The other people, you're never going to see those other people again. They're kind of irrelevant. They're going to fade out of the picture. But if you make a connection with this girl, that could lead on to something that's fantastic for both of you. So you need to sort of just almost like look at the future potential outcome of this. And then, set the so-called cost of doing this in front of a few random people against it, okay? Having said that, again, of course, you can calibrate your approaches. I mean, if there's a girl and she's just surrounded by people and it looks kind of like that, there's going to be so much attention on it, then you can either choose just not to speak with that girl, or you could wait until there's a better opportunity to do so. So I mean, you don't need to. You're not tied to any sort of imperative to get into really embarrassing situations. I mean, the beauty of day game is that or daytime approach is that you can pick and choose who you talk to and when you talk to. And some of the time you're going to get girls who are looking at you. You're going to get girls who actually I don't need to be honest. I don't need to wear these. You could be looking at. You can get girls who are looking at you, who are checking you out, who are smiling at you, etc., etc. And some people just approach them. So then you've been effectively given an invitation, if you like, to or a covert invitation to go and speak with her. That's fine as well. So and that's another reason why you're not always intruding, because sometimes actually your advance is desired and it's kind of covertly asked for. So but the final thing to say on being overwhelmed with people looking at you is that the more you do it, the less of an issue it becomes. I mean, I try to just very much center in on the person that I'm talking to. So I center in on the girl that I'm talking to, lock eye contact, and I kind of just shut everyone else out. And I can be vaguely aware that there are other people around and they might be looking, blah blah blah. I just ignore them. I just put them, they're completely outside my zone of attention, and that tends to work very well for me as well. I jumped too far ahead now. So Welsh Hippie says, where does a 46-year-old man who can attract women with looks but has no game start? Well, I mean, if you can attract women because you are very good looking, then maybe that's enough. In terms of learning, I mean, so it depends. Are you saying that you feel like you get attention but you're not following up on it because you don't know the right things to do? If that's the case, then you need to just start to push yourself to, if you see somebody checking you out, if you see somebody who looks like they're interested, you need to stop pushing yourself to A, going and speaking to them, B, flirting a bit to spice things up, and then C, getting contact details, finishing every conversation with a simple, listen, you seem cool. I'd love to get to know you more. Let's exchange numbers. I'll drop you a message in the week. That's normally the kind of thing I would say. And that's kind of it, because if you've genuinely got the looks and people are, you're getting that attention, then maybe your position is better than some other people's position is, and just capitalize on that. That's fine. But aside from that, come into CAD Academy when it opens in November, or watch videos on this channel or other people's channels. Learn more about the social dynamics. There's loads and loads of material out there, so you can definitely learn more about this stuff, and that's only going to help you. But it's fundamentally, if you're already getting some sort of interest, then you just need to follow up on that interest. And a tip that was given to me very early on is that it's always worth trying for contact details, a telephone number, an Instagram ad or whatever, so that you can message at a later date. It's always worth trying for that, regardless of how well or not you felt the interaction went, because you kind of never know, So just make that a habit of asking for contact details at the end of each interaction, and just starting the interactions if you feel there's some interest there. So Adrian asking about this girl that he went out with, and I said, what happened? And he said they made out multiple times and got on very well. Well, I mean, ask her out again. You need to just ask her, just say, listen, it was great the other night, or don't even say that. Just say, listen, cocktails Thursday. I know this cool bar. Meet me at, and just be very assumptive and just get her to come out again. If you've tried that and she isn't, which might be what you're saying, then that's a different matter. And it may be that she just, I'd need to know more about the circumstances really. But like, you can go out with a girl and you can make out and it can all be great. And then you can message her for a follow-up date and she just goes to you. And that happens. And sometimes you just have to chalk that up to the game. And this is why you need to be working multiple leads in order to, to keep the motor running, if you like. Michael says, how do you get laid without having your own house? Homeless game is great. in many major cities around the world, you will see mattresses that have been either left outside properties when people are moving house, or sometimes they're in underpasses. In London and Berlin, you will get mattresses that are in underpasses where homeless people sleep. I would advise taking the girl and making love on one of those mattresses in a public place. I'm only joking, of course. Well, I mean, maybe are you living with your parents or something like that? Maybe you're living with your parents. Well, we answered this one the other day, actually, on a different stream. For a start, you can angle it. So, and somebody answered this in the chat. They said angle it so that until she's ready to go home with you, and then say, oh, actually, something's happening at my place. Why don't we go back to yours? Or make a reason to go to her place instead of yours, assuming she's got a place. So you can do that. The other thing that you could do is hire an Airbnb. And, it depends on your circumstances and stuff. But say, maybe you'd want to hire an Airbnb for the weekend and then kind of make it a bit like it's your place. I mean, all of this is kind of contingent because if you're going to see the girl again, how do you keep up that pretense? But let's just say it was a girl you were only going to see her once and you wanted somewhere to go. You could hire an Airbnb and just go, oh, this is my place, or this is a temporary place. I'm staying here while my other place is being done up, or, make some excuse, whatever. People often ask about hotels. And I think even maybe today somebody said, what about hotels? The problem with hotels is, generally speaking, the problem with hotels is that if you go for drinks with her and then you're like, oh, why don't you come back to mine? She says, yeah, that sounds great. Where do you live? And I'm like, well, actually, I'm in the XYZ hotel just down the road. It's a little bit, it may make her feel like an escort, and she may be uncomfortable with that. You could, though, if you're getting on well with a girl and you're kind of like texting backwards and forwards, and maybe you've made out and it's pretty clear that the next step is going to be you guys getting intimate, you could say like, oh, I've always had this thing about meeting up in hotels. There's something kind of sexy about it. Have you ever tried it? And you could like seed the idea of you guys are going to meet up in a hotel because it's kind of naughty and covert and everything. And then you could book a hotel, and that might be a way to do it. But I think if you just spring on her that you are in a hotel, it might be fine, but it might just sort of like, she might get a bit put off because it'd be, hang on a minute, this guy's kind of treating me like I'm some escort, and that's not what I'm on board for. So those are my answers to that, really. But tread carefully. But in the meantime, you need to be working on obviously getting your own place. That's kind of what it comes down to. Rory says, do you remember Rollo's show on Anthony Bourdain? A career alpha, but a relationship beta. From what I remember him saying, Parts Unknown was a great show. I don't think I saw that one, actually. I mean, I remember the Anthony Bourdain case, but I don't think I saw that particular show that you're referring to. Jensen says, I was recommended to you by a friend. You seem legit. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for your question earlier about Paul Janka, or your comment about Paul Janka. Rory says, I think a lot of guys underrate their own attractiveness as they wait for women to approach. And when they don't, feel that they are not attractive. What percentage of men are actually being approached? Yeah, I think there might be something in that. I mean, the thing is, you also gain points for approaching. Like, if the average guy just sits around and waits to be approached, then for a start, it's not going to happen very much. And secondly, if and when it does happen, the women that he's approached by are probably not going to be necessarily the ones that he wants to get to know. So, for example, I mean, if I just sat around and if I had just sat around and never approached anybody, then my success in this area would be significantly less than it actually was. And the reason that it was more successful was because I went out and just put myself in front of more women than most dudes do. That's kind of what it comes down to. Even before I really learned about this stuff, like when I was in the nightclubs in Manchester, I mean, I would literally go around the club and pretty much talk to every girl in the place, until I got some sort of result. And, that there would be a lot of rejections, a lot of blowouts. But usually there would be some positives as well. And very often there would be, somebody who wanted to get together with me, and it would work. Do you know what I mean? But I had to put that work in. But also as well, just the very act of approaching. Say you do a day game approach. I mean, day game. I think even still now, I mean, people always say, "Oh, is it going to, is it less effective?" But I think if you've just got the balls to walk up and introduce yourself and make it clear what you're there for and be man to woman, that is attractive, and that's going to give you additional points. So you might say to yourself, well, facially or in terms of my physique, I rate myself as a 6. Let's just say whatever it is. But the act of approaching and doing so in a confident manner is going to bump you up maybe to an 8. I mean, it bumps you up. And remember as well, I mean, women are women visual? Yes, of course they are. It's a fallacy to say that women are not visual like men are. Well, it's a fallacy to say that women are not visual, because yes, of course they are. They fancy the guys on Love Island, they fancy the guys with the six-pack abs and the muscles and blah blah blah. But they are not quite as visual as guys, or at least they in most cases will. There are other considerations, and sort of confidence and chutzpah are very key with that. So if you can demonstrate those things, and you can demonstrate them very well with cold approach, that's definitely going to bump you up for sure. And yeah, I mean, he says, isn't just going to the girl and opening a conversation giving you +1 for your level of confidence? Yes, I think it is. I think it is. Although, having said that, it's still not a silver bullet, unfortunately. I mean, it's still not going to get you. It's not going to get you to the end goal, just the fact that you walked up to her. And this is the mistake a lot of guys make, I fall into this at times. You can walk up and say, "Hey, you look really cute," and you kind of think, "Well, God, I've shown some balls here. I mean, I've been proactive. I've walked up. Not many guys do this," and she can still say, "Oh, right, okay, yeah, thanks very much. Well, nice to meet you," and then walk off. So you've got to do a bit more than just approach. But yeah, for sure. I mean, and it depends on the girl as well. I mean, some girls have seen it all before and they're not that impressed by it, but a lot of girls are impressed by it, and many girls will thank you. Many girls will say, "Oh, I tell you what, thank you so much for doing that." A lot of guys don't have the nerve to do that, and you came up and you were direct and honest with me, and I really appreciate that. And that's a good interaction, Moving on. What do you say? What if you only have one ball? Well, I don't think that really makes any difference, to be honest. I think, you're not going to be revealing that until. Probably he's referring back actually to Sterling and people talking about balls. But yeah, if you've only got one ball, don't worry about it, because by the time she finds that out, you're already going to be. Is the word in flagrante? Well, you're already going to be kind of naked, and you're going to be getting kind of down to it. So, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Sterling Cooper is in the house. Hello, Sterling. How are you? Sterling says, having balls does a lot of work for you, especially in this digital age. I think that is true. And by the way, if you haven't seen my last interview with Sterling Cooper, adult entertainment megastar, it's on this channel. There's 40,000 views on that, baby. Now, it may even be higher now. So go and watch it. It was a fantastic interview. Just look up Sterling Cooper, Troy Francis. You'll find it. Great interview. Check it out. But yeah, having balls, I think 100% does help you. And years ago, before social media and the dating apps were such a big thing as they are now, a lot of the guys who were doing day game and even night game would discuss these dating techniques, and they would say, is this going to go overground? Is this going to stop working? Because all girls are going to know about it and it's going to be ineffective. And I don't believe that was ever going to happen anyway, because the truth of the matter is that most guys aren't going to do this stuff. Most guys are just, they don't want to approach. They don't want to put themselves on the line. So I don't believe it would ever go mainstream anyway. But in fact, what we've seen happen is that because of the rise of the dating apps like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, and to some extent because of social media, where you can get into contact with girls like through Instagram and Facebook and things, in fact, the opposite is happening, and fewer guys are doing in real life approaching. And so it's starting to sort of gain in cachet again, because it's becoming so rare for guys just to have the again, I use this term chutzpah, to walk up and be like, hey, this is what's up. That actually it kind of is quite impressive again. And it kind of snaps her out of the, if you imagine we're all kind of zombies, aren't we? Just staring at our phones the whole time and everything's happening on here. And if you just walk up in person, you're like, hey, you're cute. I wanted to get to know you. I'm Troy. You know, what's your story? What's so good about you? Or whatever, you know, then that almost snaps her out of the dream world, the digital dream world for a minute. She's like, well, this is amazing. Something's actually happening in real life. And this guy's got balls because he's come and do. I mean, I remember years ago, I dated, well, I mean, one example, like many years ago, or not many years, a few years ago, I dated this really, really hot Turkish girl who worked in a very fancy store in London. And she was really, really, I mean, she was really like an 8 or a 9, maybe even. I mean, really, you know, like decent. And I met her through a daytime approach. And I'd been out that afternoon. I talked to a lot of different people, a lot of different women. Nothing had really stuck, I don't think, from memory. Nothing had really, you know, it hadn't been the most effective of afternoons. And I was kind of, you know, you get to the end of a session and you're kind of feeling you can feel a little bit sort of disheartened and, you know, whatever. But I saw this one girl and walking from out of the subway near where we both lived at the time, because we lived in the same area. And I thought she looks cute, and I thought I'll just try this. So I ran up and I said, listen, excuse me, sorry, I know this is kind of random, but I just saw you going for the tube. I think you're really cute. I knew I kicked myself if I didn't come and meet you. So I'm Troy. You know, looks like you've had a busy day. Are you heading home for a bit of rest and relaxation now, or are you going out partying tonight? Something like that. And she's just like, oh, yeah, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, I get a phone number. And then we end up, you know, seeing each other, kind of dating for a short while. And she said to me afterwards, she said to me, look, you're not my type. You weren't my type. But she said, when you ran up to me like that, I thought that shows balls. You know, that shows balls. That shows you've got something about you. And she said that was why I gave you my number, and that's why I ended up seeing you. You know, and she literally said, you know, I think she was into black guys actually. She literally said, you know, I'm not, you aren't my type. And I went a couple of nights out with her, and she was taking me to these like urban clubs and you know, all these really scary looking like you know, huge black dudes and stuff. And that was more her vibe, to be honest. Like, she wasn't really, you know, but we ended up, dating for a while. And then I kind of like, I ended the relationship, and she was really upset. I'm not saying that as to be funny about it, but it was just like, the point is that showing that sort of like, just showing that ballsiness, and I'm not trying to overly big myself up here. It's just an example. You know, it can play in your favor, even with girls who might not otherwise have looked at you, and that's the important thing. So yeah, it's really, really powerful for sure. So this person, unknown, hello Troy, long time no see. I wonder who unknown is. Maybe it's my mum. I'll come down soon, I promise. Killer outfit. Thank you very much. If that is my mum, I'm sorry, I will come down. The reason that I haven't been down recently is because of COVID, and my mother has been quite concerned about COVID, so I haven't been able to come down. So sorry, mum, if that is you. 55 watching, so underrated. I know, I cry myself to sleep every night. It's actually 64 now, though. Thank you, mum. It's actually 64. Okay, intelligent, handsome guy you are. This is definitely my mother. Thank you very much for tuning in, mother. You can be upfront. You can be upfront about who you are. So yeah, I mean, you know, people talk about numbers. I mean, sometimes people will come on the channel and they'll go, "Oh, Troy, you know, you've only got X number of views or subscribers or whatever. You're so underrated." And it's nice. I know that they're saying that and they're coming from a good place, but it's sort of like, for me, I'm just thinking, but look, it takes time to build these things up. I mean, like John Modern Life Dating, who was on before, I think he's got 10,000. He's got about 10,000 subscribers now. I'm coming up to 7. Okay, so my growth is actually not dissimilar, really, to John MLD's. Now he gets more views than me, but my views are going up as well. So when people say underrated, it's like, well, you know, like you've got to give it time, right, for people to come on board. I mean, this channel has only been operational for about 18 months, so you know it takes a while. It takes a while to build things up. So just watch this space, and don't worry. It's all going very well. Why wouldn't you make this coaching your business? Well, it is. I mean, and if people want coaching, then drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. I do some. I do coaching over Zoom. Private coaching sessions over Zoom. So drop me an email. I'll put the email in the thing actually here, and you can get a coaching session with me. I don't do. I mean, my main thing though, really. Yeah. So you can email me there. And if you wanted to have a coaching session to talk about any of this stuff or anything that you've got going on with dating, relationships, etc., etc. But so coaching is something that I do, but it's in a sense it's not the main part of my business, if you like. I mean, the main thing really is CAD Academy, which comes out. Well, the next iteration will be November, which is my quarterly training program for guys who want to get good at this stuff, who want to learn more about the mindset tools and the dating strategies that you need to succeed in 2020 and beyond, basically. So that's kind of like my main business. I also, of course, sell books. I've got loads and loads of books out there on the market, including Renegade Dating Blueprint, which you can get for $39 on the link in the description for this video. So I do a little bit of coaching, but I try not to do too much coaching because the sort of the digital online stuff is really important for me, and it's really what I want to develop, particularly going into next year. So, we've all only got. Oh, cheers! Thank you, Mum. No, on a serious note, thank you. Yeah, drop me an email. That'd be cool, man. So yeah, I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, right? So we all have to concentrate on different things. I'm also like I do a lot with John MLD as well. I mean, I do coach on body language mastery. So obviously, had him on the show earlier to talk about body language mastery. Yeah, I mean, I generally speaking, you can see the link there if you want to sign up for body language mastery, which is open now. It does close on Monday night at midnight. So you've only got a few days. So I would recommend that you get on board. And the thing with that is I go into all of he has 2 webinars a day, right, for 3 weeks. So from the 1st of October, there'll be 3 weeks worth of instructional webinars with John, obviously running them. But he has a whole bunch of other guys who help out and also give their own lectures, give their own talks, answer questions, etc., etc. So I'm one of those guys, and I've been doing it really almost since the beginning. And I talk about dating and game and day game and things like this. And there are 2 set times for these webinars a day. One of them is in the morning, EST, Eastern Standard Time, and one of them's in the evening. And I come in, generally speaking, I come into as many of the morning ones as I can. I think it's about 10:15 or 10:30 EST that he runs the morning ones, and I come into as many of them as I possibly can. As one of the generals of the Hot Dude Army, if you like. I can't really do the evening ones. I maybe do 1 or 2 of the evening ones, but I can't really do the evening ones because it's like 2 in the morning here in the UK, which is a little bit late for me because I do obviously need to. I obviously kind of do need to do my own work as well, but I do come into the morning one. So if you want more sort of like access to me and my teaching, I mean, I'll be doing a couple of talks during the 3 weeks, maybe even like 3. I'm not sure yet. Then get into Body Language Mastery Q3 because, as I say, I do a lot behind the scenes there as well. Spamming that link into the chat as we speak. Has anyone got any further questions that you want to get covered? What we on now? It's about 1 hour and 14. Maybe go for another 10, 15 minutes if people have got questions. So anything that you want to cover, please put it into the chat. I'll just whack in the link again for Body Language Mastery. And I mean, aside from me, you've got like a whole bunch of other guys. I think Sterling's going to be coming in, I would imagine. Sterling Cooper, talking about sex and sexual techniques and how you can be better at sex, which is, I'm sure we all want to know. You've got Myron Gaines, who's obviously a rising star with the dating stuff, the night game stuff, dating dating in one of the toughest marketplaces in the world over in Miami. But he's also a fitness expert as well. So he can get you ripped, which is fantastic. Very, very knowledgeable guy, very, very blunt, tells it like it is, but he gets results. And John gets results as well. I mean, that's the thing about John. I mean, people criticize John and everything like that. And his style is kind of brash sometimes and whatever, but he really does help a bunch of guys. And this is why I work with him and why I promote his stuff, because people were critical about him and whatever. But I've seen him behind the scenes, and some of these webinars, I think the webinars he advertises, the private webinars for Body Language Mastery are 2 hours. Or that's what they advertise as. But sometimes they go on for much longer. I mean, he's done webinars for 5 hours because he's in there helping guys, actually really helping guys. And there's 200 guys sometimes in the webinars. It's incredible. So you've got to be there to believe it, but it's awesome stuff. Who else has he got? He's got Sterling Cooper. I mean, Rollo Tomasi will come in for a couple of sessions. Rich Cooper will undoubtedly come in. Ryan. So you've got all of the Rule Zero dudes. He's got people like he's got Ryan Christensen, who's a great dude with the all of the hypnosis stuff, the mindset stuff. Ryan Fowler as well on the similar kind of thing. I mean, just a whole bunch of guys who've just got so much experience in really every aspect of life, not just dating, but like business, legal stuff, career, money. It's just Charlie, obviously from crypto. What's his channel called? Cryptocurrency, anyway, Charlie, the crypto dude, he comes in, great information. I mean, there's just so much value that you get from that. Maverick, keep up the good work, man. Great insights. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciated. Jensen says, if we're in the London area, do you offer in-person boot camps or live coaching if we want to work on our approach game and want your feedback? Yeah, I do. So basically, I certainly do one-on-one. I mean, I haven't done anything for a little while, obviously because of COVID. But right now, to be honest, if you are in the London area, then I would say it's doable at the moment. Apart from the recent restrictions that got put in, that doesn't really affect daytime. So yeah, I mean, if you want to do something, drop me a line. Again, it's the same email address, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. I mean, I've taught many guys live, and what we tend to do is, generally speaking, I'll do like a 5-hour session. So we'll meet up. We'll have a little bit of a chat, your weaknesses, sticking points, etc. Then I'll go and demo a few sets so you can get an idea of the way that I do it, the kinds of reactions that you might get, etc., etc. And then you can then go and interact with different girls and different women. And I will listen to what you're saying, and I will critique you and give you pointers and so on and so forth. So it's really intensive. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, absolutely. Hit me up and we can get something organized if you're in the area for sure. Unknown says girls master body language. They can be very angry and still show they are happy. That's true to some extent. I think there's always telltale signs though. I think there's always a vibe that you can get. But I mean, the stuff the great thing about the video course for body language mastery is that he has a female model who's actually demoing female reactions and a female being attracted to you. So it's really valuable in that sense because all of the stuff, I mean, we read all this stuff in books and things, she flicks her hair, she does this with her eyes, she crosses her legs and blah, blah, blah. But to see it actually enacted by a real life woman is helpful, because it really just brings it to life. And once you've seen the model that he works with doing it, then it's unmistakable in real life. And as he says, you can't unsee this stuff. It's sort of like once you've seen it, then you will, you'll know what it looks like for next time when you're actually out on a date or you're actually out in the field. Rory says, I've recently had a detox from caffeine, processed sugar, and alcohol, and my energy, mood, and vitality has improved exponentially. As a teetotaler, do you find it easier now? Well, I mean, do you mean in terms of having given up alcohol or giving up the other stuff? I mean, certainly, I mean, it's hard to say because I haven't drunk alcohol for such a long time now that it's almost impossible to like compare and contrast. But I mean, there is no doubt that this, and this is going off into off on a tangent into a different topic now. But there is no doubt that where I was with alcohol, I was completely screwed. You know, because I was drunk basically every day, all of the time, pretty much, and my life was going down the pan. You know, but this was a long time ago. I mean, this was like a couple of decades ago, nearly. I mean, remember I'm in my 40s, so it's going back a long way. I was in my late 20s when I gave up drinking. So, and yes, I mean, not having hangovers, or all of that kind of stuff. Yes, you can have more energy. Although it has to be said, when you're going out at night, people, when you have those first couple of drinks, that does give people energy. And when you get to my age, being out at night can be a little bit more tiring without that buzz. But I mean, you have to manage that. You can have a nap beforehand. You can drink energy drinks. Whatever you're going to do. But yes, I mean, like not using alcohol. I mean, my life would be inconceivable using alcohol in the way that I was using it. So yes, I mean, my life is 100%, 1,000% easier now than it would have been if I was using alcohol. If you're talking about giving up the other stuff, so caffeine, I have detoxed off in the past. I'm bang on it now. I'm drinking loads of caffeine. It's just not something that I really. I mean, I try not to drink caffeine in the evening too much, mostly because like it interrupts your sleep patterns. But I drink quite a lot in the morning, and it's just not really a concern for me to try and give it up at the moment. Processed sugar, I try to eat as little processed sugar as I can, and I've really improved that in the last 18 months. Actually, I used to eat pastries in the morning, sometimes sugary cereals, sometimes I'd eat chocolate bars. I had a pretty bad diet as far as overtly sugary stuff was concerned, and about a year and a half ago I just cut it out in the main. I mean, I treat myself, but I basically cut it all out. And that has been fantastic. It really has. In terms of my, weight or like leanness, general health, I think it's fantastic. Now, I do sometimes veer a little bit into sugar. Sometimes I let myself off the hook a bit at weekends, and you can be tempted sometimes by certain things you think you can get away with, but in the main, I try not to eat overt sugar. I mean, like something like tomato ketchup, which has got sugar in it, I'll probably still eat because, I'm not going to be that strict about it. But I'm not having desserts. I'm not having cakes. I'm not having croissants. And I mean, plain croissants I do have, but I'm not, I'm trying to avoid like milkshakes, sugary drinks, all this kind of stuff. And it's 100% better. Caffeine, I'm just not that bothered about personally. Like I like to have caffeine in the morning. So, And he said just alcohol, so I've just answered. So the rest of the rest of the answer was sort of not relevant, but maybe it helps somebody. I don't know. Hopefully, yeah, coffee. I drink a lot of coffee because, like like everybody banging on about like black coffee in the morning and stuff, and I like black coffee, so I like to drink a few cups in the morning for sure. Asian Neo says, how do you get more girls to approach you if you don't have the looks? Well, I'm not sure you can. I mean, and this is why you need to man up and you need to take the initiative and do the approaching. Because even if you've got the looks, the girls aren't going to all be approaching you. There are many girls, probably most girls actually, who are very, very of the opinion, I'm not going to approach. I mean, they may give you more signs. They may come and stand in your proximity and bat their eyelashes at you and that kind of thing to make it, give you indicators of interest so that you're more likely to approach. They certainly do that. In my experience as being an incredibly good looking man. No, I'm just saying like, they girls will certainly put themselves into a position to be chatted up if they're interested in a guy for sure. But most of them aren't going to overtly approach you. I mean, it happens from time to time. I mean, it's happened to me. It happens to me a few times. It's happened to me a few times in the past. I could probably count it on one hand, maybe a couple of hands when it's happened. You know what I mean? It's just not, like, and I'm not saying I'm good looking or anything like that, but it's like, but even, I mean, even good looking friends of mine, like I mentioned before on a show maybe last week, there's one dude that I hang out with, or I used to hang out with a lot. Very, very good looking guy, not very tall, by the way, but very, very facially good looking guy. Good physique as well, because he was like a gym kind of guy. And he would get a lot of attention from girls. He would get a lot of girls giving him indicators of interest. But even he doesn't really get girls approaching him particularly, or very rarely anyway. So you've got to be prepared to put yourself on a limb and go and just, go and approach. You've got to do it, even if you were the best looking guy in the world. And if you were the best looking guy in the world, to be honest, she might be intimidated, and she may not even approach you anyway. So bear that in mind as well. And then Stealth 97 says, do you follow the London day game model? Open, stack, vibe, investment, close, very rigidly, or is your game more freestyle? It's more freestyle. Well, it's kind of both, because yes, I do follow it, but I also like to be a bit more freestyle. So the London day game model, I mean, look it up, type it into Google, and you will. I mean, Tom Torero has, I'm not sure what videos he's still got up, but if you type London day game model Tom Torero, you will probably find good resources there. I think he's got a PDF that explains the basics of this, and he's probably got videos up that explain it. But it's basically what Stealth says. You open the girl, you stack, that is to say you make some assumptions about her, and you stack an assumption on top of an assumption until something kind of clicks. Then you vibe on that. So say, oh, you look Spanish. She's like, yeah, I'm from Barcelona. You're like, okay, right. And then you vibe about Barcelona. Maybe you tell a story about Barcelona. You then reach the hook point where she shows interest, some sort of interest in you. Maybe she asks a question, or you just get the sense that she's kind of into the interaction. Then you slow things down. You go into investment. That is to say, you kind of do a little bit more comfort. You make it, you drop the player act a little bit, and you're a bit more normal. You're a bit like, yeah, I'm, I work around here, so I'm just out and go out here on my lunchtimes most days. I've lived in this city for a few years. My mum lives here. That's, and you normalize yourself. You show you're a regular guy. And then close, which is when you ask for her phone number or her maybe her Instagram or whatever means to remain in contact with her. And yes, I mean, that's broadly speaking what I do, because it works. I mean, those steps, those sort of pillars or whatever you want to call them are incredibly effective, and they are elements probably of any successful or most successful interactions. Having said that, I like to freestyle it a bit as well, and I think even Tom Torero, who was one of the people who invented this. So it's training wheels. You follow it rigidly at the beginning, and then when you're used to it and you've done a load of approaches, you can drop the training wheels and just kind of freestyle it a bit more, and it's fine. So I'm aware of them, and I'm aware of kind of what stage I'm in when I'm in the interaction, but I'm not rigidly. It's not like I'm there with a notebook, like ticking them off. I'm kind of freestyling, and I like to be a little bit more natural and freestyly as well. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's good to be aware of this stuff, but don't be afraid after a while to throw off the training wheels and just go for it. The Basque linguist says, last Saturday, a mate kept trying to convince me to quit masturbating. Best decision ever, he said. Is this nonsense, like a religious thing? Greetings from Berlin. Whereabouts in Berlin are you, mate? Because I spend quite a lot of time in Berlin as well. I don't know, man. I mean, like, NoFap is a big thing, and then there's this whole semen retention thing that people are talking about over on Twitter. I think it's all a bit overstated, to be honest. That's my personal opinion. I don't see why these dudes have to make such a big deal about it. I mean, I think there is some value. I think if you're jacking off the whole time, that's not good. I think if you are finding yourself lethargic and you're not approaching in socializing properly in real life, then there is value in reducing the amount of fapping that you're doing. Or you might go once a week or something like that. I think even actually Roosh actually before his conversion recommended once a week. I think if I remember, almost like like maybe you go once a week because just to let the pressure off, if you like. But then the rest of the week you're because it motivates you. And I think there is something. I mean, if you read, oh my god, if you read Napoleon Hill, the book about what's the Napoleon Hill book called about making money? For God's sake. Think and Grow Rich. If you read Think and Grow Rich, he talks about transmutation of the sexual instinct and how you can use that energy for basically making money. And I think there's something in that as well. I think if you lay off it a bit, that it can be beneficial. But I'm not really on board with these guys who just fetishize it and make it into such a big thing. I mean, why would you be talking about your fapping habits on Twitter? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. I mean, like, I think it's like everything in moderation, really. I think as long as if you're doing it all the time, that's bad. But if you're not once in a way, it's not the end of the world, I don't think. That's some random thoughts on it anyway. I hope that answers the question. Right, Rory says, this is an interesting one. As a Mancunian, although I don't live there now, I always found the posh students easier to approach than the chavvy Mancunian girls. Do you find class an issue with attracting British women? To some extent. I find British women an issue with attracting British women, actually. I'm not sure about class. I mean, like, class, as people may know who are watching this, who aren't British, class is still a big thing, I suppose, in Britain, in the sense that, you can kind of tell from someone's accent, the way that they speak, whereabouts they fall in the class strata, and that can sort of maybe have some sort of a bearing. But it's not really clear cut because, as he says, I mean, I don't know what class you'd regard yourself to be, Rory, but I mean, say say you're kind of like a working class guy. A lot of upper class women are upper class. A lot of women from. God, I'm trying to be politically correct now. I mean, like a lot of like more upper class women, they're really into that because they like the kind of like the more lower class kind of lad. So it's not as clear cut as like, oh, if I'm upper class, then I'm going to get a better response from an upper class girl. Because actually, if you look at like Made in Chelsea, you get some of those girls, and I've seen them being interviewed and stuff, and they'll say, yeah, I don't really like these Chelsea guys in real life. Like I prefer like Essex guys because it's a bit more like rough and ready. Do you know what I mean? So, but in terms of the actual points, I think what is difficult is because I think what feels difficult and can be a bit difficult is a girl that you are very much on a level with, because she if I rock up and I talk to a girl who's broadly sort of similar background to me and everything else, there's no mystery, there's no mystique about me. She's just like, oh, he's just some dude. He's just another one of those guys. There's nothing like special. So you don't have that advantage. Now, that's not to say that you can't successfully, interact with those girls and end up dating them or whatever. But you don't have any advantage. Whereas if it's a girl where you are somewhat different, whether it's class or whether it's background or even ethnicity sometimes, or where you're from, like if she's Eastern European, you're British or whatever, you've got some sort of exotic value, and that seems to make things a bit easier. So, I mean, I've always felt a little bit sort of, I mean, broadly speaking, I'm like middle class or like lower middle class, I suppose. But I've never really felt that comfortable in any class, to be honest. Like I feel a bit chavvy for the upper class people, and I feel a bit posh for the, for people from other backgrounds. So I've sort of always felt a bit uncomfortable in any class, really. But I mean, like I've just tried to sort of become somebody who gets on with everybody, and I think I kind of do that now. So it's worked out. Um, Any thoughts on keeping LJBF girls around for social proof when going out? Well, it's not something I personally tend to do, to be honest. I don't really roll with that many female friends. I mean, I have a few. Obviously, I have female friends and acquaintances, but I'm not like out rolling with them much. I've the whole thing about going out with girls for social proof. I mean, it's not. I think it's overstated a little bit. I don't know that it's massive. It's kind of as powerful as people kind of make out it is. If she has LJBF'd you, that is to say, if you've made a move on her and she said, let's just be friends, I would be hesitant about continuing to hang out with her, to be honest, because effectively you've accepted second best. You know, she's given you the consolation prize, and then you've gone and grabbed the consolation prize with both hands, and that seems to be weak frame, really. I mean, you know, it depends on the circumstances. I mean, if it's somebody that you kind of knew before and, you know, whatever, then maybe. It's not something I really do very much, and it's not something I really necessarily recommend. I think just working on your own, or, you know, you can go out with male friends, but just working on your own on a solo basis is better. You know, just being a bit more sniper-like, you know, just going in, expressing your genuine, authentic interest to the girls you're into, and letting the chips fall where they may. And having a sort of like girl around as a prop, I don't think is. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll start doing it, and I'll report back. But it's not something I necessarily recommend. Okay, so Rennie says, would you recommend a girl who is he means a HB5, a girl who is like a 5 on the rating for looks, let's say, with a strong, genuine desire plus caring features, or strive for a hotter without such strong feelings, added values? So who would you settle down with? Probably the first one, I guess. It depends what you want long term. If you're looking for a long term relationship, then, like I said before, you know, those other things have got to come into play. And I mean, looks, in the end, even if she's a supermodel, you're still going to get bored. is the reality. Do you know what I mean? Like, after you slept together, you know, 100, 200 times, whatever, you know, it wears off. So the other factors have to come into play, for sure. Having said that, I wouldn't recommend going into something long term with somebody you're not really attracted to just because she's got good qualities, because I think there needs to be a bit of that spark there as well. Otherwise, it's just like, you know, I mean, why put yourself through that, you know? So, SD Kapoor says, your article, Detachment is the Keep Hot Girls. I don't know if that's the full title, but he says on Return of Kings is one of the best I've read on the Manosphere, but I can't find it on the internet now. Where can I find it? Well, a lot of those articles, they got taken down because Roosh has obviously changed direction. So that website is no longer what it was. A lot of those articles I put into my collection, which is called Renegade Dating Domination, which you can get on my, well, I'll try and find a link actually. I can drop the link. But so I've got there's 150 articles that's in that collection that you can buy, and it may well be one of those. But if you email me on troy@realtroyfrancis.com, then I explain a little bit more about the article. Then I can have a look through myself and see if I can find it, and maybe forward you the text of it. But I'm just trying to have a look here because, as I say, a lot of those articles that were on ROK have been taken. Oh, for God's sake. Have been taken down, but the best ones, I didn't put every single one in, but most of them, the best ones are all in a collection. Let me find it for you. Hang on a sec. Called Renegade Dating Domination, which is available here. And I tell you what, I tell you what. So the cost of this. So this is 2 volumes. There's 150 articles in it. 2 volumes, 400 pages over 2 volumes, 150 plus articles, and it's 187,000 words, which is more than Catch 22 or The Grapes of Wrath. But it's searchable, so you can look through the. You can look into the contents page and you can find, whatever article is most relevant to you at the time. You can find that and obviously easily navigate to the article. Now, normally the cost for that collection is $69. However, for this stream, because you guys are so wonderful, I will give you 50% off. So if you click that link there, if you want to get that collection, if you're interested in reading those articles, and there's a bunch of other articles that were on my website as well, some of the best articles from my website. If you are interested in that, click that link and you'll get 50% off. So it'll be just $34.50. So that's just a little offer just for this stream, since we've been on for a little while. But anyway, the guy who asked the question, I mean, if you want to drop me an email, I can try to help you with that specific article. But otherwise, get the collection because I think it will be in there. Trump 2020. Well, let's see. It's going to be fun anyway, isn't it? Whatever happens. Yeah, Rory. I've heard semen retention increases motivation, dopamine, and endorphins. There's a reason Mike Tyson never had sex before a fight. I think in short doses for sure. And I think if you want to motivate yourself to go and interact with women in the real world, then a little bit of semen retention is a good idea, because if you're fapping too much, you can just demotivate yourself, and you're giving yourself the dopamine hits without having to do the work of actually doing the approaching and stuff, if you like. So yeah, but I wouldn't make it a lifestyle choice. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it for long periods of time and things, because it's just like, why would you? And like Alrov says, well, I think fapping actually wards off prostate cancer, from my understanding, which is limited. But my understanding is that if you keep it all in, that's not necessarily a good thing. So you need to clean the pipes from time to time. Right, Basque Linguist says, that's what I thought. Watching porn all day is probably not a good idea. Yeah, just do half the day. But nothing wrong with rubbing one out once in a while when waking up hard. And he says he's in Friedrichshain, about to go out. Mate, what is the vibe over there at the moment? So Friedrichshain is a great area because you've got all the clubs over there. You've got a lot of the clubs over there. You've got a lot of bars over there. Very cool. Probably one of the coolest areas to live in Berlin right now, I would say. My place is in Neukölln, which is also very cool. But I think Friedrichshain is up there for sure. What is the vibe in the city like right now? Because I might be coming over soon. Is it any sign of any clubs opening? I mean, the bars are going, aren't they? The bars are all cool. If you could give a really quick, temperature check of the vibe over there at the moment, that would be good. I mean, is it looking likely there's going to be any further restrictions put in, or is it all good as far as you can see? And any timeline on nightlife opening up again? Because that is what we're all waiting for, really, I think. Farhan says, are Muslim girls harder to game? How far is that true? I think it depends. I think some very conservative Muslim girls are maybe not going to go against the grain, but others are very, very horny indeed, and they are just looking for an opportunity to get a little bit naughty. And when they do, they go absolutely nuts. So I think it depends. I think it depends. Actually, talk about Neukölln. My friend was doing some game in that area quite recently, and there are quite a few Muslim girls around there. And he was chatting to some of them, and he was getting quite good responses when he was chatting to them, but the follow-up didn't really come through. They weren't really responding to the messages and stuff like that. And I think when there's a strong sense of, say, community and expectations within that community and so on, it may not go any further than a little bit of flirtation. But I mean, there are plenty of Muslim girls who are in London, for example, who are going absolutely crazy. And I mean, my girlfriend actually used to live in she's not Muslim, but she used to live in a very Muslim place with a lot of Muslim girls. And she was telling me about how a lot of them were wearing like really sexy lingerie underneath their clothes, and they are sore spots. So I think it's one of those things where if you you meet one and she's interested in having a little bit of an adventure, you will find that she is very spicy indeed, and it will be a lot of fun. Isn't class just another hierarchy of sexual market value? Well, yeah, kind of. But like I say, there's a sort of an inverse value as well, because, I mean, particularly in Britain, I mean, like the rough and ready guy who is perhaps not regarded as upper class can have a lot of cachet in the sexual marketplace, right? And we see that in Britain a lot, like particularly with like guys from Essex, for example, maybe guys from the north, guys from East London, Cockney guys. These guys are regarded are like working class guys, but women of all classes find them very sexy because they're a little bit rough and ready. They've got like that kind of thing going on compared against some really boring, bland, kind of conformist like upper class guy. So it's more nuanced in terms of how it works. The worst thing though is I think to be middle of the road. I think you don't want to be the guy in the middle. And conversely, there are also plenty of posh guys, that is to say upper class guys, who are very naughty kind of dudes, and they do very well as well. So, it's sort of like it plays into it, but I don't think it's the hugest factor. What about geniuses? Could they be successful in relationships? Well, I'm pretty successful, so what can I say? I'm only joking. I don't know. It depends. I'm not sure. Can sexual interest in LTL really be hot and heavy going into your elder years? Well, that is the million-dollar question. But if I had to put a bet on it, I would say no. I just don't think it's really realistic. But it doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, there are people who have been married for years and they're in their 60s and they're kind of companions, and that's good enough for them. So I don't want to judge. I know people, they say, oh, my parents, they haven't had sex for years, but they're just great companions. They're there for each other. And what's, what's wrong with that, right? But yeah, I don't think it's realistic, to be honest. Have you read Death of a Thousand Sluts? I think it's 1,000 Sluts, isn't it? Yeah. No, but it's on the reading list. And Tom keeps telling me to read that, so I'm going to read that. Ben says, what's your favorite American city? Have you been to Texas? I haven't. New York is my favorite city because it's just got all the history and the culture. And I mean, I really like New York. I haven't been there for about 6 years or so. No, maybe 8 years actually. I quite like to go to Texas though. I heard that some of the ladies are very attractive there. So maybe, I don't know, that could be on the cards at some point. SD Kapoor, is Dan Bilzerian alpha chat? I've read many articles that he sources girls through PR agencies. His body language is alpha. Is he the modern Hugh Hefner? I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that much about him really. I mean, but the thing is, like, I'm absolutely certain that he is getting sexual attention from females. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the girls that you see him in the pictures with, yeah, I believe that he sources them because it's part of his PR, it's part of his marketing. But it doesn't really matter. He's got an Instagram with, I don't know how many followers he's got, but a ton of followers. He's got an Instagram with a ton of followers with loads of pictures of him on yachts and on beaches with hot models. It doesn't really matter how they got there. It doesn't matter if he paid those specific girls or they're there for a PR stunt or something. Because the average girl sitting in Wyoming who's looking at his Instagram feed is not really thinking that. And even if she's aware of it, the social proof still works. Because this is the funny thing about advertising and about media. Even when we're aware that we're being sold to, we still get taken in. And it's the same thing with, like the girl's going to be looking at that. She's going to be going, this guy's always surrounded by hot women. he must be a high value dude, you know. And so even if he's not getting action with any of the girls that he's pictured with, for sure he's still getting action elsewhere. There's no doubt about it. So I don't really, you know, his business and, you know, his pictures and things like that. I don't, you know, who cares, right? You know, he's still going to be getting the good results for sure. And he's you know, he's made good money. I mean, I know there's been some issues with his tax and things. I did a podcast about it a while back, but whatever, man. I mean, you know, whatever works. I mean, he's had a good, it's been a good hustle, and it seems to have been to a large extent working for him. So whatever. But I'm certain that regardless of him paying girls and things, he will be getting, you know, attention also, which is the only important thing, really. I mean, that's, you know, however you want to play the game, whatever works for you. You know, he's found his niche, and it seems to work for him. So good on him. You know. Have you heard of Maverick says? Have you heard of Bougie Bo and his old YouTube content? Super short guy. He's got the balls to cold approach. He seems that he comes across as amusing rather than attractive. No, I haven't heard of him actually. But if you've got a link, whack it in the chat or in the comments below. I'll check him out. But yeah, I mean, you know, like, it'd be interesting to see, because some guys get a very good at social approach, but are they creating attraction? Are they being charismatic? And that, by the way, is what I teach in CAD Academy when it comes out, because you can approach it in a very social way and you can get the girls laughing and you can have nice conversations, but there's got to be a bit more to it, right? There's got to be that edge to it where there's kind of a sexual undercurrent. Yeah, Wraith is saying no evidence that no fat prevents or stalls prostate cancer. I mean, I'd heard the opposite, actually. I'd heard that fapping is good for that. But again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Using your body does not cause cancer. Sexually transmitted diseases contributes. Okay, fine. I mean, do you have some example of Asian clients who've done well? Indian, Chinese? Yeah, absolutely. I've certainly worked with those guys, and I've certainly helped them to get good results for sure. Definitely. And then, so listen, let's make this the last question, because I've got to head off out in a little while. But Renee says, and to be honest, we should probably do a whole show on this, because Renee says, when you have a caring long-term relationship, HB5, she's a 5 in looks, but losing your desire for her in the romantic sense, would you next her? Would you try to compensate with side chicks? Very difficult question. It depends what you want longer term, really. I mean, I had a client actually who was asking this question in a call last week, and we went into it in detail. You know, and I said to him, it kind of depends what you want, because if you're looking to like settle down and you think she's a high quality woman and you think like she's going to be a great mother and all that stuff, then you know that is a consideration. But what I would say, and what I said to the client, is that once the spark has gone, once the sexual desire has gone, it's very, very hard, if not impossible, to get it back. On your part, I mean. Once you have lost, once she is no longer, you know, getting you hot and bothered, and you're like thinking, oh, I just want to tear her clothes off, it's very unlikely to come back, in my experience, unless, I don't know, unless something seismic happens, like she loses a ton of weight and she suddenly looks really amazing, or you split up for a bit and then you come back together. Sometimes that can kickstart it again, but even then, it tends to be short-lived. In my experience and the experience of guys I know, once that desire has faded, very hard to get it back. And so then you're in a situation where you're in a long-term relationship with a girl that you don't really desire, and that becomes problematic because you're not going to want to sleep with her as much. It's not going to be as passionate as when you do, and she's going to notice that. And yeah, it's just not very good. So I think it depends on what you want longer term, but if you're not holding out for something longer term with her, then you probably do need to try and get out of it, because ultimately unfortunately, maybe you might say sex is the glue. Yeah, it's they're not coming back. Ribney says, if your wife goggles come off, they are gone. Better start new. Exactly. That's my point. Exactly. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. It's been a great session. We've been on for about an hour. Well, it's coming up for 2 hours now, actually. So it's been quite a long session. Body language mastery. What link am I even doing now? That's dating. I'm selling like a bloody used car salesman in this episode, but that is a link if you want to get my collection, Renegade Dating Domination. You can get 50% off. You can get the 2 books for $34.50 instead of $69 because you tuned into the show. That's got all my old articles in it. There's 150 articles on dating and game and all this kind of stuff. But more importantly than that, Body Language Mastery. John MLD's Body Language Mastery is open now. It closes again on Monday, so you've only really got a few days to jump on board, and I would advise you to do so ASAP. Go to the link there and join the course. It is awesome. There will be 3. You get the training videos. You get the online videos which show you female body language and if she desires you sexually or not, which is incredibly useful. But beyond that, you also get access to 3 weeks worth of webinars twice a day with John, myself, Ryan Stone, Rollo Massey, Myron Gaines, Rich Cooper, Sterling Cooper, no relation, loads and loads of guys who are just great at what they do. So it's a fantastic thing, really fantastic thing to be a part of. And then you get to come into the following webinars. It's like going to a university. It's like the Harvard of game and dating and lifestyle advice. It's really fantastic. And I do all of them, as many of the morning webinar sessions as I can, and it's a lot of fun. I get a load out of it and really enjoy doing them. So yeah, jump on board with that for sure. Cheers, Wraith. Good to see you, man. I will see you in the webinars. That is the link to jump on board with Modern Life Dating and the Body Language Mastery Q3 course. So do enroll in that. And that's it from me. I will see you again very soon. It's Rule Zero tomorrow. I think it's on... Do you know what? I think it's on John's channel, actually. I think it's on John's channel, but it's Rule Zero. Tomorrow, we are talking about the truth about dating in the modern world. So it's going to be a really spicy one. So join us for that. And yeah, beyond that, that's about it. Please do hit subscribe to this channel. Give me a like. Drop me a comment in the comments below. And look out as well. I've got a separate channel now. Just a little side project called CAD Questions, where I'm answering a question a day from viewers. So there'll be a link for that in the description, but check that out as well. Subscribe over there. It's just a little channel. It's not to replace this one. It's a side project, but yeah, building that up as well. So have a look at that. And yeah, I will see you guys again on Monday when we'll do the next episode of CAD Live. It will be at 11:30 a.m.